It's time to get you caught up with all things sports.
Yes! 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 Yes!
On the throw-in.
One thing is certain. None of this is possible without you, the listeners.
From baseball, football, wrestling, and more, covering local Cincinnati sports, stories, news, and highlights.
Why is he always calling me?
With your host, Justin Trento.
When it's all said and done, we're going to look back and remember this is what started it all.
Available on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Let's play the ball! Let's play the ball!
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to The Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. My name is Justin. 2-hour daily program back up and running. I know, a long hiatus. And if you guys have been following the program, you guys have seen it and heard it firsthand about the things that have come and gone and everything I've been through. My sister actually came down from San Diego a couple weeks ago, just went back a week ago. And, so I spent a lot of time with her, and I didn't really necessarily call a lot of baseball games. I had a few here and there, but didn't do any programs for that time period, trying to spend time with her. Previously, I was also been taking a lot of mental and, physical health wise being, with injuries and whatnot. So there's been a good longevity of time where we've been away from the program. And one thing pops out over and over again is that, when you're away from a product, and I've actually talked to a good friend about this, we agree on it. His name is Steve Barber from Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. And, we talked about, hey, you got to keep the content rolling, because if you don't, you lose credibility very quickly. The amount of time that it takes you to build a fan base, a daily listener, viewers, you could lose all that. You could put in a year's worth of work on a product when it comes down to podcasting, broadcasting, whatever the case may be. But the moment you take a week off for whatever, at least 1 week off, it all goes downhill from there. And, so we share, that's the light that I think a lot of content creators can share and can agree with. And so I guess at this moment, we're starting from the bottom and we're moving our way up top. But we're back and going. I feel pretty good. As far as right now goes, I'm feeling really good about beginning the show back up to a consistent level where I could now come in and talk about sports. We're also at an exciting time in sports, with football training camps about to get underway. The Cincinnati Reds are playing, well. And so they're something to talk about. We'll talk about that in our program. WWE, as we head towards SummerSlam, we'll have our mixed thoughts and opinions about that. So, we feel pretty good about where we're at. But in the meantime, we're calling baseball games. Something that I've been really enjoying doing last couple weeks, last several months, is coming to you in a baseball game. And a matter of fact, we will be back with another baseball game tonight as the Baltimore Orioles take on the Philadelphia Phillies. Game 1 of a 3-game series tonight. Broadcast starts at 6 o'clock. First pitch scheduled for 6:40. Excited about this game because Baltimore has captured first place in the AL East, overcoming Tampa Bay. And matter of fact, they won the series over the weekend against Tampa Bay. And they get to go on and take on the Philadelphia Phillies, who's kind of been fighting for a wild card opportunity. So Philadelphia is home to Baltimore, game 1 of a 3-game series tonight. You can listen to the game through me, Justin. Broadcast starts at 6 o'clock. Game first pitch scheduled for 6:40. We'll give you a little pregame show, followed by a post-game show after the game as well. Just a good time, and it just continues to build the repertoire and everything, so forth. All right, so I was kind of, putting my pieces together of subjects to talk about. I feel confident in the 2-hour program that I have scheduled for you guys this afternoon on a Monday, July 24th of 2023. Now, I kind of want to kick things off in the wrestling world, and I think, we have Monday Night Raw coming up tonight, 2 weeks away from SummerSlam, and there's just there's a lot going on, and what's made things unique and interesting, and how they're bringing this WWE universe together, from Raw to SmackDown to even NXT, is how they topped off giving Dominik Mysterio the NXT North American Championship. So I wanted to begin the program talking about the Judgment Day and the success that I felt should have grown from the beginning of the year up until WrestleMania, and then just continued. Kind of, Judgment Day has kind of gotten a bit of a late start. And now, heading into just 2 weeks away from SummerSlam, the biggest event of the summer, in my opinion, August 5th in Detroit. Exciting time. We have a lot of things going on, plenty of conversations to have regarding SummerSlam. But Judgment Day is looking to rise, and they look to be in the main event everywhere you look. And for a glimpse moment, they seem to be the most interesting fraction of the WWE. They're taking WWE by storm, slowly but surely. We're talking about Rhea Ripley back at WrestleMania, winning the SmackDown Women's Championship, that later on to become the Women's World Championship. Damian Priest had a segment, had a kind of a match with Bad Bunny back at Backlash, kind of gave him the spotlight. He went on to win the Money in the Bank briefcase, which guarantees him a title match anytime, any place, anywhere, all that fun stuff. Dominik Mysterio winning the NXT North American Championship on, last Tuesday against Wesley. We'll get into that. But Finn Balor will get a title opportunity coming up at SummerSlam against the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins. And, if you have all your members of the Judgment Day, that's been growing over the last 3-4 months period. And I feel like it's about time. It's about time that they finally, they run the WWE. And you know what? I think, although it's a late start, they're doing, they're doing quite well running the WWE. Let's start off with Rhea Ripley, because we know Rhea Ripley deserves that, the top of the food chain. She deserves that championship. And I think she's holding it quite well. She's also kind of keeping the Judgment Day put together, intact, right? Because, God forbids, two men having the chance at the same title, ultimate dream, right? Being the face of the company, and they're kind of not seeing eye to eye. And it comes to Rhea Ripley to come back and control the entire team. So, Rhea sits at the top. This I'm gonna put up this tribal chief of of this Judgment Day faction. And Damian Priest comes in and he wins the Money in the Bank briefcase. And this, so there's two parts to me in my thought process of Damian Priest. One, he's a really great athlete. I feel like they really underutilized him for the past year, ever since dropping that United States Championship last year at the beginning of the year against Austin Theory, right? And I was a bit disappointed. He goes on and joins Judgment Day, and I was like, all right, this is a fine, use of him. But then what did we see? We didn't really see anything. As a matter of fact, he got pushed to the back burner while Dominik had his feud with his father, Ray, at WrestleMania this year. And so he goes on, and now, he has his WrestleMania match against Bad Bunny at Backlash. He ends up having, going on to win the Money in the Bank. And now he's lined up in the path to success, the path of domination, to winning. You can either cash it in on any title. He makes that very clear, whether it's the U.S. title, whether it's the World Heavyweight Championship, whether it's the Universal Championship or the Intercontinental Championship, right? He can go down and win the NXT Championship. But see, the Money in the Bank briefcase, you could cash in anytime, anywhere. I would only assume that you would go cash in either on Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns. Now, if you are, if you are a faction looking to dominate both Raw and SmackDown, I wouldn't see why you wouldn't want to maybe find the opportunity while family feuds here coming up at SummerSlam between Jey Uso and Roman Reigns for that title. Why wouldn't you try to maybe slip right in and snag that title away from the family drama? But the bigger question and the bigger, I think, interesting, sources going into SummerSlam this year is that Finn Balor and Damian Priest has not been seeing eye to eye as much as late. And is there a possibility, that Damian Priest goes in and cashes and becomes the new World Heavyweight Championship come SummerSlam, whether Seth Rollins or Finn Balor wins? Absolutely. You have an entitled year to cash in. And I really believe that if you work the storyline correctly, you'll lead to a Damian Priest Finn Balor, and I think that would be a great story to tell. I think that would be a great match to watch, maybe even a WrestleMania match down the road. But I guess you asked yourself along the line of all those questions, is it time for Seth Rollins to drop that World Heavyweight Championship? Now, the one thing I will speak to that is, as I see differently, that World Heavyweight Championship shouldn't be represented just like that Universal Championship. Well, one holder holds it for an extended period of time. I don't have a problem seeing that title change hands a few times throughout the year. Matter of fact, I'd encourage it. It keeps things fresh and it keeps things open, in my personal opinion. But you can't have Damian Priest go win that World Heavyweight Championship by cashing in that Money in the Bank briefcase at SummerSlam on either man without causing some sort of feud between Finn and Damian, which would lead them to a match. So I know they're teasing it now. I kind of say wait off. I would honestly, in my opinion, okay, next year, and I would see this a storyline for next year, even heading into next year's WrestleMania match. I would love to see Damian Priest, Finn Balor for that World Heavyweight Championship match. That is my opinion. All right, then we get to Dominik Mysterio, who wins the North American Championship, back on NXT last week, defeating Wesley. He goes on to SmackDown and defeats Butch, I believe, right? Defending that title thanks to some help from Pretty Deadly and from Rhea Ripley. So, and I'm just, for me, what I see is the Judgment Day growing and building and strengthening which is what they should have been doing since the beginning of the year, taking them 4 months later or 6 months later, right? And I hope that the Judgment Day grows and grows, because I can see this as being a dominating faction for years. But then you got Damian and Finn that kind of, make it wonder, are they going to kind of break up? The big controversy, the big topic out of all of this is, one, Dominik winning gold. I think that was essential. But who was he going to win gold from? Obviously, he ain't winning it from Seth Rollins. He's not going to go win it from Gunther. He's not going to go win it from Austin Theory. You go down to NXT, and you're still very limited on the amount of options that you have. You have Wesley as the North American champion, now former. And then you have Carmelo Hayes, which I think he's still rising to the occasion. I don't know. I'm not necessarily... I understand the success that the WWE is trying to push on Dominik Mysterio, and they push him pretty hard. Some say he's succeeding. Some say he's still says he's not. According to Mexico over the weekend, he stole the show at a house show in Mexico. So he's doing something correct. But there's just something that rubbed wrong with me just a bit when he won the North American Championship. Maybe because I like Wesley too much. But I tell you about Wesley, I think it's time for him maybe to, kind of build himself up, make himself a known, competitor up in the main, in the main event of NXT. We're talking about going on and taking on Carmelo Hayes. And now we get to see Dominik Mysterio. And I think this is a good business move at the moment, at least throughout the summertime, as we get to see Dominik now, highlight NXT. You probably bring, with the Judgment Day going back and forth between Raw, SmackDown, NXT now, you bring some attention to NXT, which can help in the ratings long run. Maybe also, there was the conversation back at WrestleMania. What do you do with Dominik? There was a chance that you brought Dominik down to NXT as he built on some of his, fine-tuning himself. So maybe this is a win-win. And I guess you got to have an open mind for all this. There's just something that feels a bit off, a bit wrong. But I am, and this is contradicting myself early on. I am glad that there are success rates coming through. And I feel like, the Judgment Day is kind of highlighting a little bit of SummerSlam this year, which is a good direction moving forward for this fraction. And it keeps you on your toes. So good things, bad things from the Judgment Day. Want to hear from you guys here as we get settled in. 2-hour program coming up. Taking you guys up until 4. Don't forget tonight's ball game between Baltimore and Philadelphia. Broadcast starts at 6 p.m. Excited to call that one. If you guys are just tuning us in, like I said, I know we've been absent for quite some time. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Have those notifications on, and don't forget to check us out on our webpage at www.tncsportstalkshow.com. That is www.tncsportstalkshow.com. Watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. If you're listening to us, thank you. We appreciate it. We're going to step aside and take a break. When we come on back, let's talk a little bit about those Cincinnati Reds. Change the sports conversation just a bit as the Reds begin a 3-game series against Milwaukee, but they're on a nice little 5-game hunt. Half a game out of first in the NL Central. We'll talk all about that coming up next. You guys are listening to The Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Got to give a big shout out to StreamYard Studios, the proud home of the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel, where you could create podcasts, videos, host virtual business meetings, and even conduct interviews. Check out their free version today at StreamYard.com. Unload. You guys got a part of me as we get back into the swing of things. Welcome back to the throw-in here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Want to welcome everyone back. It's been a while since we been on a program. Took a lot of personal time off. Still trying to do videos once in a while. I know, like I said, did a lot of baseball games. We'll be doing one tonight between Baltimore and Philadelphia, but yeah, glad to be back. We'll see how the summer goes. Hopefully everyone's enjoying their summer so much so far. No, I have went down to the Florence Speedway this past weekend, which saw some dirt races. Was a pretty fun experience, very inexpensive, so fun time to watch that. Kind of trying to been doing a little bit of everything. As the summer kind of starts winding down and we get into football season, but we got to talk about the fun baseball season that we're halfway through, and excited to get to finally be able to talk about the Cincinnati Reds and their success. They picked up the sweep over the Arizona Diamondbacks over the weekend. A really good sweep. Really well-needed sweep for the Reds. And I was suspicious about how they were going to handle themselves coming back from the All-Star break. I was a bit disappointed that I couldn't be on this program giving you content, sharing the highlights and the success when Ellie De La Cruz came up to the big leagues, when Christian Encarnacion Strand comes up to the big leagues. And because this is what we've been waiting for. Nick Krall and the Reds, gave us, hey, these are the prospects that are going to come through the system over the next several years. And this is the future of the Reds. And, ever since Ellie De La Cruz gets called up, you could feel the energy and the atmosphere at Great American Ballpark. Went to one Reds game this year so far. And that was thanks to the end of the season party that my oldest softball team, hosted. They got some tickets because the season was done. They got a group of tickets and we all got to go. So I took we took the family out there, and, convenient because it didn't cost a lot. And we had ourselves a good time, and it was packed the entire time from first pitch to last pitch. And you like the crowd. You got to enjoy the crowd. And this is kind of more of a similar, energy that you get when you see the Bengals play and you have the tailgate parties. The Reds are playing really good baseball. Not only they won back fans, which was probably the initial step that they had to do, but they're giving Red fans to something to talk about, to cheer about, to root for from the month of April to August. Right before the Bengals get started, and you kind of build. And this is what I love about a sports team, especially like Cincinnati. You build off of other professional teams in your area to succeed on your own success. Right? It's I don't know how you guys feel about it, but if the Reds don't play well, you get excited because you have the Bengals and they've been pretty hot lately, and they're looking to try to attend a Super Bowl run this year. But it doesn't bring as much excitement to the Bengals season than is if the Reds were, hey, we're contending today. Let's go on. And, on top of that, we have a good Bengals organization. And then you get excited about the Cyclones and, their excitement, their success that they've had. going to the playoffs this past year, making it past the first round, getting swept out by Toledo. We'll never forget about that. But then it can roll, it's the domino effect. It trickles down into college basketball, right? College football, college baseball on that matter. I'm telling you, it's in a city like Cincinnati, when sports is pretty much key. That's all there is in this town. It's sports. It's baseball. It's the rich history of Cincinnati Reds. It's the Cincinnati Bengals. It's the Cyclones. It's the football. It's everything in that Cincinnati has to offer, to be honest. You almost depend on the previous team that's currently playing to have success to motivate you for the next season. And they're doing it. 5-game winning streak. They're kind of pushing right now. They're a half a game back of the Milwaukee Brewers, and they have a crucial 3-game series coming up in Milwaukee beginning tonight against the Brewers. Now, we'll talk about that game definitely here in a moment. But, like I said, I was kind of skeptic about seeing the Reds this back end of the season. They had that nice little stretch heading into the All-Star break. But then you get to the back of the All-Star, coming back from the All-Star break, it's like, you got to continue the success. And when you face a team like Milwaukee and you don't play good, and trust me, listen, it sucks because it seems like Milwaukee is the only team that the Reds cannot get past. If you're Cincinnati and you can't get past the Brewers, and listen, a year ago, I'd be concerned. Right? Because we would have to face Milwaukee 5-6 times a season. Now we only have to face them one additional series. And guess what? We have a lot of success against other teams as well. But kicking off the second half of the season, I think there's more pressure. And if you're looking to contend as a ball club, having a couple good runs, okay, I'm talking about 7-8 game winning streaks for the month of August, maybe the month of September in that case, or even to finish off the month of July, is crucial to make your case for a playoff opportunity. And I think that's where Cincinnati has to decide now. Now, if as a fan base, I want the Reds to go for it all, right? Because there's no promises of next year. There's no promises that Ellie De La Cruz is going to be batting .300 next year and hitting 27 home runs. Okay, there's no promises that CES is going to dominate next year, or Matt McClain is going to be at the top of his game. Right? There's no promises that Hunter Green's going to come back from his injury next year and be this ace pitcher. So going for it all now may be the a little too much to ask for. But realistically, it's not. If you have the team and you have the players, and what's great about it is that they have the success because of their offensive ability. Yeah, they can always use help with the pitching because you got Hunter Green out there on the IL. You have Nick Lodolo. You have two of your top pitchers out there on injuries. Let's not forget Connor Overton, who's out with Tommy John surgery. You're still missing a good key chunk of your bullpen. And you, once again, I would go on to argue that you're relying heavily on a lot of younger pitchers that were supposed to get introduced to the big leagues this year, towards the end of the year at least, and yet they have to step up in a big way. You know what? They're doing so. And that's what's fun about it, is that, you don't even know who's coming out every 5 days, and you can feel confident that the Reds are at least going to play their hearts out for you. And that's what type of team that you want to go into the postseason. It's going to be tough because we got Milwaukee, but we got a 3-game series against Milwaukee. Last time we get to see Milwaukee for the season, and for a team that we don't play well with, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because then I'm like, all right, we're done with Milwaukee. We don't have to see them in August or September. And then we could just focus in on winning. And we could hope we can get better at playing. You know, we were pretty good against Chicago. Hopefully we could level the playing field with Pittsburgh after they took a turn halfway through the season. You know, St. Louis has to decide themselves what type of ball club are they going to be moving forward, and we may see that within the next year. By the way, the trade deadline ends next Monday, which then leads me to this big question to the Reds fans. What does the Reds need to do before the trade deadline? And we're throwing out all of the possibilities. So look at the Reds team. Where do you think this Reds team needs to improve at? First and foremost, you know, they have the young talent coming up that's having success. That's why we go stack up 9 guys at shortstop, you know, with Nick Krall. Now, I feel confident in our defensive battles. I feel confident in our offensive battles. I still get tremendously worried about, 1, starting pitching, and 2, I get worried about our bullpen. Now, I don't know if we can fix both of those things without tapping into a payroll. Now, I don't even know if we can fix one of those things without excessively spending, because teams now in this final week, I'll tell you how it's going to work. Teams know either if they're buying or they're selling. And if Cincinnati is going to knock on anyone else's door saying, all right, we need some sort of pitching to help this ball club out, what do you have? You know that the Reds are looking for a pitcher that could get them through August and September, and at least until Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo comes back. But they want everything in the market. And we still have players in the minor leagues that have yet to come up. And so one of the question is what are the Reds willing to give away? And it's hard when you have so much success by the group of people. And it's everybody, all right, from Nick Senzel, who I had thought to myself that Senzel was going to have a terrible year. Will Benson, that no one thought of until today when he's playing extremely well off the bench. All right, Will Benson gets picked up, former San Francisco Giant outfielder. The Reds are scratching their heads, are like, what are we doing with him? And he's turned out to be a good ball player for this organization, contributed in a lot of big key games for us. But starting pitching is a must. And I think if we can get starting pitching that can give us solid 5, maybe 6 innings an outing, then our bullpen, you could take a workload off of our bullpen and you feel confident, a little bit more relieved heading into this backstretch. Where do you guys think that the Reds need to improve on? I think that's pretty much it. I think then Nick Krall has to go back into the drawing boards and figure out, all right, what is our long-term investment? Because I know we probably can't keep everyone that's on this roster next year in 2024. But I know for a fact Ellie De La Cruz, Christian Encarnacion Strand, Mike McLean are not going nowhere. I know that, you hope that Jake Fraley or TJ Friedel or even Jonathan India doesn't go nowhere next year. Nixon's, I was always thinking to myself that Will Benson and Nick Senzel were 2 top tier talents that, they're playing well. Could you afford to maybe get, trade one of them, especially with how well they're playing? I don't know. But, then you see the signs of, okay, Shohei Ohtani unlikely going to get traded from the Angels, but still a possibility, And, they're throwing out ideas. Hey, Ohtani goes out and gets traded until the end of this year because the Angels seem to be playing, 500 baseball. And then you get out to the, the stretch of, the possibility of Ohtani being in an Angels uniform. Don't tease me like that, you guys. I would love Ohtani to be, in a Reds uniform down down the line to help our year. And I definitely think if Ohtani gets into a Reds uniform, you almost consider a playoff spot. But I mean, you're really pulling the leg, underneath from us if you're saying Ohtani, because even if you keep Ohtani, let's say hypothetically in the Reds, hypothetical world, you can go out there and snag a guy like Ohtani off the trade block and not have to give up an arm and a leg, because the overall goal is for Angels is to re-sign him next year. Then to only have him 2 years, the chances of Ohtani staying in Cincinnati slim to none. Is there anyone else out there that you guys would like the Reds to acquire within this next week to help this organization get to the promised land? Let me put it this way. It's one thing to finish off the season at 500 baseball, which I think is still already impressive if you are a Reds fan, because compared to last year, 500 was, kept on, was always in a near sight, but kept on becoming a disappointment every time they lost. And then we prayed and prayed and prayed and scrambled that, hey, we were not going to finish in last place. And then this year, there's success to it. Let's continue that conversation here as we get you guys ready for game 1 of a 3-game series between Milwaukee, Cincinnati. Final 3 games of the season for them facing each other. All that continues more. You guys are listening to The Throne here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. All right, bottom half of hour number 1 coming up here on the program right after this quick ad. Alrighty, you guys could go on and check out Steve Barber, Dwaylen Davis at Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast, available on YouTube and on all audio streaming services, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, many more. If you listen to a podcast, if you're on a podcast service, I could guarantee you it's on there. They talk all professional wrestlings. You listen to Dwaylen's has a vast knowledge in professional wrestling. He's like an encyclopedia, you guys. Trust me, just 2 homegrown wrestling fans bringing you their thoughts and opinions. Check them out today. Go like their stuff. Don't miss a single episode. They also have other stuff going on the side. So definitely encouraging you guys to go check them out. Here, Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. All right, Cincinnati Reds and the Milwaukee Brewers get underway here tonight. Game 1 of a 3-game series, as the Reds will have Graham Ashcraft to the mound, while Milwaukee will send out Colin Ray. Yeah, actually, matter of fact, I called the last game that Colin Ray pitched, and that was the game against Philadelphia on Wednesday. I want to say it was Wednesday night. Yeah. It was July 19th, I believe. It was a really good game. But this is kind of the last and final chance for the Reds to take on the Brewers and kind of get their stands. And you would kind of hope, if you're Cincinnati, that you push the hand of hey, listen, I know we haven't played well against Milwaukee all season. I know our season may not come down to the final straw. And if it does, Milwaukee has an upper hand in the records against us. But you would hope you would want the last series against Milwaukee to be a dominating series. Take 2 of 3, even taking 1 of 3. You got to avoid being swept. You're half a game out of first. You're about to go into a series here. And I was just looking at this during the break. You have 3 against Milwaukee. You have Thursday off, and you go out to the West Coast to face the Dodgers, first place Dodgers team. And I don't know how much success you're going to have against the Dodgers, but you got to head back home to take on the Chicago Cubs at the beginning of August in a 4-game series. And, listen, I'm excited to see the Dodgers and Reds, of course. I'm excited to see how the Reds will go out to Wrigley Field and handle business out there as they try to separate themselves, between the second and third place, hopefully at the time, first and third place in the NL Central. But you got to do business against the Milwaukee Brewers, and you got to find a way, being a half a game back, to take one of, just to keep it within a margin. Milwaukee could come in and sweep the Reds, and you'd be 3.5 games back. And you could only be, if the Cubs go on and they don't face, they face the White Sox beginning tomorrow. They go on and they win that series, and they're 51 and, in 51. They're playing 500 baseball. So you're doing, for the Reds, you're doing 2 things. And I think one's a little bit more important. For one, you're keeping yourself the distance between you and the rest of the teams in the division down on the low, right? You want to keep that break as far back as possible. The next thing you want to do is realistically, all eyes are on trying to beat Milwaukee. There's just no argument of value to question any of that. So if you're Graham Ashcraft, and I don't think there's a better pitcher, maybe Brandon Williamson, but I don't think there's a better pitcher right now to throw out there game 1 of a 3-game series other than Graham Ashcraft game 1. And I'm going to tell you right now, if it's not, I won't be able to watch the game, but if it was a game that I was able to watch, I'd promise you that I would go on and actually broadcast this game, because I feel like this is a playoff atmosphere game. It feels like a lot of Reds games, all right, especially at Great American Ballpark, but a lot of Reds games are going to be playoff atmosphere games because they are contending. They are playing extremely well. If you go out to LA, the Dodgers, the crowds, whatever, because the Dodgers have so much success, and they're going to always overlook Cincinnati and their success, and they're going to say, hey, we're always better than you. But wouldn't it be nice? We got to start off right here, right now. Ellie Dela Cruz, Matt McLean, Christian Encarnacion-Strand's kind of already gotten a look at Milwaukee. It's time to come in and take care of business now against Milwaukee. Take the series. Walk away on the day off above 500, not only above 500, but above, all the others in the division as we head to the West Coast to take on the Dodgers. Don't worry about, if you're going to be on the team the next day or, the next hour. Just let Nick Krall deal with that, and just go play some baseball. That's also so terrifying too. If you're a player that may be on that trading block, you're sitting there, you're like, oh, well, and what I hate the most about it too is that they'll tell you in the middle of the game, you get traded in Nick Senzel gets traded in the 3rd inning. He stops what he's doing, and then he has to go into the locker room. I'm like, let them finish the game. I don't see why not. As Milwaukee takes on Cincinnati tonight, first pitch 8:10 Eastern Standard Time. You also have another game between the Pirates and the Padres beginning that series. That's at 9:40, and 9:40 Cardinals in Arizona. So pretty late time games If you guys are just getting home, maybe tune into the beginning of the game. Probably be, if the most Cincinnati game, probably be able to catch out all of it. But I also, and I don't know how much people are paying attention to St. Louis and to Pittsburgh. You got to ask yourself, though, if you're just talking about the Central here, right? You just ask yourself. Pittsburgh started off the season very well, right? And then they kind of trickled down. And that's the last thing I want Cincinnati to do. And I get that, that feeling. It's like, is it too good to be true? And then they're just going to level out and play 500 baseball. No, they're hanging in there. And I think that's what's drawing my attention. Okay. And that's what, I'm excited. I'm thrilled to see that happen. But are you guys still kind of feeling that way? Or, we still have a lot of baseball left. You got August, September. They're just going to kind of trickle into being an average team again. My biggest question, I think, to you guys here is that if the Reds don't make it to the playoffs this year and they just hold on to how do you want to put it? If they hold on to a season above 500 and they don't make it to the playoffs, is that okay? Is that still an accomplished season for you guys? Because, we're playing really good baseball without some top ace pitching. We still played some baseball without a Joey Votto half the season. And, if, the season, if we can make it to the playoffs, that's great. If we don't win the playoffs, are we still satisfied? If we don't make it to the playoffs, are we still satisfied? I'm interested to see where are the heads of fans today? Because yes, you're excited that the Reds are winning and they're contending. It's the end of July and Bengals haven't started yet. So the fact that the Reds are giving you something to cheer for, something to talk about, something to tune into, that's all great. But if the Reds don't make it to the playoffs, is this going to carry over into next year? Is the fan base going to carry over into next year and be like, oh, I have a strong belief, because I hear it on the radio all the time from other, radio stations that, listen, everyone's going wild for the success that the Reds have. They're going wild and they're excited, but I hear the callers call in and saying, oh, well, it's okay. It's not a big deal. I heard yesterday after the game, they had a caller that called in saying that, no one expected these young guys to get it right away in the major league level. Well, guess what? They did. And one of the concerns is that after, young players get up to the major leagues, they have a extraordinary amount of success, and then they kind of level out, after, they get used to things. So, where are our rookies going to stand by next season? And are the fans, like I said, going back to the fans, are we still going to be as hyped and supportive as we are? And we should be, just like we were just as hyped for the Bengals coming up here, which they begin training camp, which leads me into my next category, the top of the hour of a 2-hour program here. So what are we coming up here in the second hour? Well, we're still going to talk about Monday Night Raw. Seth Rollins, Finn Balor has that contract signing that we got to talk about. Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar, game match 3. They have I have a list. I'll kind of just trickle down the list of what's expected to happen tonight on Raw. So we'll get you guys a look at that before that happens. Coming back, I'll share some other news. Ring of Honors for Cincinnati, little updates in that. Training camp begins. I'll give you the details and all that good stuff. But this is how I begin my major, my NFL season before the season. I'm going to be giving you later this week another quarterback ranking. So what's going to be interesting is that we get to compare it to one I had at the end of last season, that's what I want to do. But I'm also giving you a NFL team ranking per conference. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with an Excel document that I have that, I kind of typed out, the teams and where I believe they stand. So I'll kind of give you an explanation at that. I'm doing that for a preseason look at, because, and see where, if you guys agree or you guys don't, and then, maybe come back in a month before the season begins and do it all over again and see if anything changes. But the NFL season is getting underway. Training camps come back up. I'm excited for it. So we'll all disclose that coming up here in hour number 2. Hey, listen, it has been fun getting back into the swing of things. We're just warming up here on the program. A lot of stuff still to talk about. Hour number 2 coming up next. Don't go nowhere. You guys are listening to The Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Hour number 2 here on the program. Welcome on back to the Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. I want to thank and welcome everyone back for a long hiatus. Took some mental and physical break from this product. Try to do some baseball games and all that fun stuff as well. All right, talking about baseball games tonight, you guys could check out right here on the program a audio broadcast of the Baltimore Orioles and the Philadelphia Phillies. Broadcast starts at 6 o'clock, giving you guys a pregame show. First pitch scheduled for 6:40. Two teams trying to fight for a playoff opportunity in an Eastern showdown. That's what I'm going to say. Make sure you tune in for tonight's baseball coverage of the Orioles and Phillies on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. All righty. It's interesting. Saw read over the weekend that Damar Hamlin returned back to Cincinnati. Damar Hamlin was one of the young man who ended up collapsing onto at Paycor Stadium. Back on a Monday Night Football, first Monday Night Football of the 2023 new year. He was, pronounced, he stopped breathing, went to cardiac arrest, rushed to the hospital. They revived him. And since then, he actually made his return to Cincinnati this weekend to help promote the importance of CPR and AED training through his Chasing MS CPR tour. And listen, I think it's great. We're hopefully capable of seeing him return to football full time. And I think the ultimate goal is to see Damar Hamlin play on the field once again. Whether that, is for the Bills, whether that's for an additional team. And he's calling Cincinnati his third home. So I give him a lot of credit because, an incident like that nationwide for me would actually, kind of change my thinkings and everything that happens, and everything that I would determine to do. And so the fact that he is willing and wanting to come back and, try to play again, and hopefully he succeeds at that at some point. And it's one of those stories that, it's a lifetime story that you just be able to tell and to grow from and to learn from also. So to see him back in Cincinnati, for him to call it his third home, I think it is special. And I think, fans can touch on a personal level with DeMar and his recovery process. Coming also here, we talk about some Hall of Fame this year in football. Well, the Cincinnati Bengals have announced that they are honoring the class of 2023, Ring of Honors class Boomer Esiason and Chad Johnson, which is they will be inducted later on this year during a home game. James P. Kelly Athletics for the Cincinnati Bearcats Hall of Fame class of 2023. There's a handful list of people. I'll talk about that here. Corey Blount, men's basketball from 1991 to 1993. Antoine Peak from 1998 to 2002. He played football. Ann Thomas, 1997 to 2001 for women's soccer. And Chris Weinberg from 2001 to 2004, men's track and field. So congratulations to those alumni of Cincinnati that will be inducted into their Hall of Fame on Friday, September 15th of this year. It'll be held at the 5th and 3rd Arena. And it's interesting, I want to make an effort, if I can, to get down to a Bearcats game. They just joined the Big 12, which is going to be very fascinating to see how they adjust to a new conference. And we're going to get more into the Big 12 talk and their conferences and the importance of it. But I'm hoping, I think for me that this really enlightens up a lot of things and opens up a lot of windows. And Cincinnati over the last couple of years has proven that they're a good organization to play against top elite teams. And, I feel like as the NCAA grows, Cincinnati can grow with it. So we will see them begin their season this year at in the Big 12 conference. And this will be an opportunity for Scott Satterfield, as he was announced the 43rd head football coach for Cincinnati Bearcats. Scott Satterfield as head coach, he's 76-48. He has a 4-1 bowl record. He's won 3 Sun Belts championships, 2016 to 2018. He was a coach of the year in 2018 and ACC coach of the year of 2019. So we're looking for some more success coming out of Cincinnati heading into this year. I think that they have a good organization with the continuance from last year, and with the new join of, like I said, the join of the Big 12 conference is going to really spice things up. So I'm excited and I'm optimistic to see how the Bearcats go. We'll talk more about college football as we grow back into the daily 2-hour production here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Talking about some other things, though, Cincinnati Bengals, they will begin their training camp practices this coming up Wednesday, July 26, 2023. They will also hold 10 open practices, including 4 additional practices to season tickets and wait list members. That's exciting. And actually something that, I was talking to a former co-host of this program, Trey, yesterday, he's going to head out to a couple of them. As a matter of fact, he headed out to a couple of them last year, sent me some pictures, and never really been out to an open season practice. And as I was doing some search yesterday for today's program, I went on and looked onto a little bit about the practices, and they're absolutely free. If you guys are in the area, they're absolutely free to attend. You just got to pay for the parking when you find parking. Now, there are limited seatings. As I read online, there's about 12,000 bleacher seats. It's first come, first serve, and and otherwise you got to stand. Now it's supposed to be pretty warm out this week in the low 90s, upper 80s. So if you guys head out there to Paycor Stadium, I think it's off to the right side of Paycor Stadium, I believe, the west side by their indoor dome. But they're holding up to 10 free open practices to the public. And then you can enjoy, they have merchandises, they sell things there. But you guys, get a chance to get some autographs and whatnot. So I encourage you guys to go out there. And if you guys are not in this area, whether you guys are in a different area, if you got a professional sports or football team nearby, go to the website and check out all the details. I'm sure that they have open practices, open for public. I know some teams travel for practices because of weather, because of the heat. So I just, check the website out and see what's open and, available for them. But it's a good chance. Talked to the wife early yesterday, and, she's a big Joe Burrow fan. So excited to possibly get the opportunity to go Wednesday if we can. I know it's going to probably be crowded. Try to go through the week so it's not, as crowded maybe over the weekend. I don't know how it's going to be. Try to maybe get that down there early. I don't know. How do you plan for one of these? You guys got an insight. Let me know, how does one plan? How early should you go to the Cincinnati Bengals open practice? Should you be 2 hours early, 3 hours early? There's no shade, so obviously sunscreen, hat. But what do we do? Talking about other things to come here, just a heads up, also preseason week 1's coming up versus the Green Bay Packers at Paycor Stadium on August 11th in about 3 weeks, I believe. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. So I don't know how the tickets are still available or not, if they're sold out. Oh, well. But, hey, football's literally right around the corner. And talking about football, I got my rankings here coming up next. So this is what I do. I have an Excel sheet I'll share with you, opened up in my tabs. And I had all the football teams looking out. I was kind of going over it over the weekend. And who really sits at top to who really sits at the bottom. And I have all that disclosed. And some people may, this is my list of where I think each team stands. Now, they are divided between the AFC and the NFC. So I don't know how I'm going to display this, but I'll display it coming up here when we come back from break. Also, coming up in the hour, we'll talk about the question I think has been talked about for quite some time in the WWE. Who dethrones Roman Reigns? Jey Uso is going to get a chance at dethroning Roman Reigns on August 5th in Detroit at SummerSlam. Now, does he succeed or not? I don't know. There's some interesting rumors and thoughts about what could potentially happen to move along that storyline. And there was this crazy thought that displayed over the weekend. I'll share with you at a later date that can really, realistically change a lot of things if it does go down. I can see it go down with how unique this storyline's been. But with that being said, who dethrones Roman Reigns? Let's open that up for discussion just a bit. We'll get you guys ready for Monday Night Raw. Hour number 2 continues here. You guys are listening to The Throne on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Hour number 2 here of the program. I'd like to give a big shout out to Spreaker, where you can upload, monetize, and view analytics of your podcast. Spreaker.com. From iHeartRadio, you can upload on all major audio platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You'll be able to break down and see your analytics per video and be able to also monetize your video. Check out their options today at Spreaker.com. Proud home, one of the proud homes of the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. we're back here, hour number 2 here, and I want to give you a list of my rankings here. So let me pop that up here for a moment. The NFC season's right around the corner. Let's share my screen. Entire window. Nope. Chrome. Nope. Nope. Don't want that. What's going on here? Oh, okay. Let me. There's that. Let's try that again. There we go. All right. I think I got everything under control. There we go. No, don't want that. All right. I'm going to go ahead and just display it this way. And you guys can just listen to my voice. All right, got it pulled up for you guys. This was something I was just working on over the weekend and wanted to share with you. So out here on the left-hand side, you got the NFL. All right, so you got teams. You got the NFL teams. I kind of made the list for myself so I can just kind of see what's going on and what we had going on. Over here on my right side of the screen, though, you guys can see blackouts, and that's because I wanted to share with you one by one as it progressed. So this is kind of my rankings per team on each side of the conference. And like I said, in about a month from now, I'm going to come on back here and kind of give you another, see if anything changed comparison. This is where I believe teams stand among where they're at heading into the preseason as among a competitive, maybe a threat to the league, whatnot. So it is strictly, like I said, opinionated. And so you guys may have different opinions here. So coming in at the top of the NFC, we'll kick things off. I got the Philadelphia Eagles, defending, NFC champs. They are a team that right now I believe they have the least amount of offseason hiccups. Whether it's trades, whether it's deals, they don't have much problems coming into the, this coming up season, which still makes them probably the number one target. And to be honest, when I was looking at this division, when I was looking at this conference, there's been a huge amount of shakeup. Obviously, no Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers left, and then when you look into the Giants and the Cowboys, San Francisco has so much injuries. I felt like it was only right to have Philadelphia as number one. Coming in right behind Philadelphia is the Green Bay Packers. And this one here is because of Jordan Love. He's been the backup quarterback for Aaron Rodgers in quite some time. And to be honest, Jordan Love is going to have his first year where he gets full-on reins. And we'll see if he sinks or swims. And I think the Packers will make it back to the playoffs. Early prediction there. But, compared to a lot of other concerning factors on why they are number two, they kind of more fit probably the second most completed team. Next one's going to be the New York Giants. They just grow for me, and they just keep on growing. I feel at some point they got knocked down by the Eagles because of gas winded, and this is a team that just is going to keep on learning. So that's why they're up at number 3 for me. Coming in at number 4 is the San Francisco Giants. The only reason why they are down so low is because of injuries. I believe you have, is it Sam Darnold that you have as your third string quarterback? Because you do not know the status of Brock Purdy or Trey Lance, which was supposed to be your franchise quarterback. So with the uncertainty at quarterback position right now for San Francisco, I think they're in a big concern. Although there's still not many great teams down below them, I still think that they have a chance at still being a top team in the NFC. Coming in underneath them is the New Orleans Saints. You talk about Derek. I think was it Derek Carr? Yeah, who got traded, who went on to New Orleans. You know, people claim that he's not a terrible quarterback. Well, this is your opportunity to shine and succeed. I believe you got Bryce Young with Carolina. You got, what's his name? Baker Mayfield over in Tampa Bay. So this is really a time to, hey, you have an easy access of dominating the NFC South, given that you actually come through and, you're the quarterback that you say the trade is, for and with. Seattle Seahawks coming up next. I think this is the only team that can contend maybe with San Francisco and may actually have the NFC West with the return of Geno Smith. They were pretty, hell bent on fire last year. So we'll see how far they go this year. Coming in underneath is the Dallas Cowboys. And why Dallas is such in the middle of this list is because we've seen time and time again that they have a tremendous amount of success heading into the season. But it becomes I guess, for me, it becomes a bit of a factor when you just can't get over that hump or get over that wayside. So Dallas Cowboys, we'll see how they handle things, but there has to be so, you could go to the playoffs every year. And I think this is the question I ask you guys. All right. And this is the question I think you could ask yourself if you're the Dodgers in baseball, right? You can go to the playoffs each and every year. Just go into the playoffs for 10 years straight, make up for the lack of championship rings that you have. I think that's a big question to ask. And we'll talk about that because for me, when I look at a successful team, yeah, the Dodgers are always in the mix. The Cowboys seem to be in the playoffs every year for the past, 4 or 5 years almost. They just can't get over the hump. And you know what? And it's interesting because you're going to remember who won the Super Bowl back in 2012. You may also remember who they defeated in that Super Bowl as well. But you're not going to remember all 6 teams that went to the playoffs that year. So, listen, great. You're a dynasty. If you're a dynasty, you go on for 10, 15 years winning, making it to the playoffs somehow. But does that make up for not having Super Bowl rings? Because at the end of the day, yeah, Dodgers are a good team, but guess what? I always think of the Dodgers as a team who can't get the job done. Cowboys, in the same sense, I don't hate the Cowboys. I like the Cowboys, but they're a team that just can't get the job done. And that's why I'm like, let's move on for a different team in that sense. So another conversation for a later date. Detroit Lions. One of the questions that I have to ask for the Lions is, what are their options? Are they going to get that much better? They stopped the Packers from a postseason run last year. Now is it time that they can, they seem to get better, and they, are they too built for their hype? Following that, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I feel like they're going to come back down real quick. I don't know. We'll see. Baker Mayfield had a chance with Carolina last year. Didn't work quite well. Kind of made it up towards the end of the season with Los Angeles. He's going to have another chance with Tampa Bay, and we'll see if he's capable of holding the ground. I think that NFC South is open for anyone. Los Angeles Rams, it's hard to see it, listen, they tried to repeat it last year, didn't really work quite well. Can they, injuries really provoked them? Can they come back and do it again this year? I guess we'll just have to find out. In the bottom of the list, we have the Chicago Bears, followed by Minnesota Vikings, Carolina Panthers, Washington Commanders, Arizona Cardinals, and finishing off, last but not least, is the Atlanta Falcons. So that is my current team rankings for the NFC as of preseason of this coming up year. So we'll see in about a month if any of these teams kind of change. Maybe you convince me at some point. All right, let's take a look at the AFC because it becomes more interesting. And the first and foremost, you'll kick things off with the Kansas City Chiefs because right now they are still the team to beat in the AFC, although a lot of people will argue saying that the Bengals are a better team than the Chiefs. Sure, but right now, when you think of postseason, you think of the AFC, instantly what comes to mind are the Kansas City Chiefs, and you know it's going to be a good game regardless of if they win or lose. Next is probably going to be interesting to a lot of folks, and for Cincinnati fans, I probably get some backlash for this, but I have the Baltimore Ravens for the reason that the contract of Lamar Jackson right now is non-existent. You know, they've already settled that out. You have Odell Beckham. You picked up a couple of draft receivers. The Ravens have put themselves, they're coming into this year saying, hey, we have no issues other than maybe health-wise, which I haven't seen any big key injuries, and we'll see over the course of the preseason. Baltimore looks to be a team that's right in there in the mix. Afterwards, then I got the Bengals. My biggest question coming from Cincinnati, which we'll definitely dive into it, is, is their window running out, in my opinion? It's just a thought. Buffalo, on the other hand, their window is also running out, but I also think that the AFC East can be up for anybody as well. The next four in this conversation: Chargers at number 5, Jacksonville number 6, Miami, and the New York Jets at number 7. If you're the Chargers, you're getting better, which is a great thing. They got to the playoffs, and they lost by 1 point against Jacksonville last year. I think Trevor Lawrence has still little ways to grow, but I like the Chargers coming in up at the top. They're still a team that, and you know what? Maybe they can finally give Kansas City a run for their money. But then you got Jacksonville also coming in, followed by Miami and the Dolphins. And this can be argued because coming in afterwards are the Jets, where you got Aaron Rodgers. And guess what? New York brought in Aaron Rodgers to win, not in 3 years from now, but to win this season. So there are high hopes, but I guess we'll see how Aaron Rodgers does in New York. The next 4 on this list in the AFC for me, Pittsburgh coming in after the Jets. Mike Tomlin, seems to be a coach that just gets over and over and over, and honestly, they haven't had a losing record this season, yet in the last 16 years. Las Vegas Raiders comes in afterwards. They think that Jimmy Garoppolo is there to save, football and for the Raiders, and maybe he is the mix. I think the only problem that I have with Jimmy Garoppolo is he's injury prone. But other than that, he's a good quarterback, and if he is hot and he's on his hot stuff, the Raiders can be really challenging the Chargers this coming up year. You also got Tennessee Titans and the New England Patriots at the third part of the list here. And coming in at the bottom of the list is the Cleveland Browns, Indianapolis Colts, Denver Broncos, and the Houston Texans. And all I got to say is about that, I will mention this. There was a couple of good, keen draft picks made by in this year's draft. I just don't know if that is enough to make a significant difference in the outcome of their season. Like, for example, Carolina, right? Carolina picked up, who do they pick up? They picked up Bryce Young, right? Bryce Young is I think he could be a potential great star. Colts, Texans, potentials great young quarterbacks, but they have a lot to learn. And to say that they're going to come in and change the dynamic of the NFL in 1 year, I think is unheard of. And it is very, very rare. Joe Burrow didn't come in and do it the first year. So my thing is, when it comes down to some of these selections, it's a very difficult, especially when you get down in the middle, who's better, who you think is better than the other. But, I feel confident in this list. Now, that doesn't mean that Minnesota is going to finish at the bottom end of the division. I'm just saying that Chicago, Detroit, and Green Bay are fighting for the same thing, right? And you have a couple of different looks. Will Justin Fields in Chicago be your top tier quarterback? Can they improve? You have Jared Goff in Detroit, which I think we've learned a lot with Detroit last year, especially at the end of the season, which hopefully plays into this year. And then Green Bay, I don't think you can count out Jordan Love quite yet. So, like I said, preseason thoughts and team rankings. This will be put up in an article later on the TNC Sports Talk Show website, www.tncsportstalkshow.com. If you guys are looking for more, want to look at this a little bit closely, definitely encouraging you. Okay. So, all right, coming up next, we got to talk to you about, there we go. Got to talk to you about Monday Night Raw. But the big question coming out of it, we're going to talk about before we get to Monday Night Raw, is who can dethrone Roman Reigns? Now, this has been a conversation for a long time, and it's going to continue being a conversation. Bottom half of the program continues right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. All right, bottom half of hour number 2 here. I want to give a shout out to Epidemic Sound. Discover your world-class artists, composers, and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media accounts the music they deserve. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music link. For more information, check out epidemicsound.com. Also want to give a shout out to Canva, where you can create presentation, flyers, advertisement for all social media platforms. Helps create the videos of our commercial breaks and all of our pre-video packages available thanks to canva.com. Be sure to tune us in tonight, 6 p.m. for the pregame show, followed by the game, and a post-game show of Monday Night Baseball between the Baltimore Orioles and Philadelphia Phillies. In one of a 3-game series. All righty. So, big question coming around. I do definitely want to get to the conversation of dethroning Roman Reigns. It's been a conversation for probably, at least a year and a half, 2 years. It feels like Roman Reigns has kind of been through the entire roster and back. Now he's going to go on to face Jey Uso at SummerSlam this year. Any idea off the top of people's heads of who could definitely dethrone Roman Reigns? I know in the past we've had the conversation and the thought that Brock Lesnar could dethrone Roman. I know we've talked about who else. I know there was the big push was, hey, Dwayne Johnson, why don't you come back and dethrone Roman Reigns? I even probably went out on a limb a year ago and claimed that, well, you got to have Braun Breaker, who's currently in NXT, as he grows and as he builds, he can dethrone Roman Reigns. Or maybe you got to keep it within family. So, this, like I said, this has been a conversation at some point. When is that story going to end? Obviously, the bloodline story is not just about Roman Reigns and becoming WWE Universal Champion. He's capable of doing things at a different time. He was capable of having this type of a success with or without, the help of his cousins, the Usos, and now recently added Solo Sikoa. But definitely, did it definitely help keep this reign as long as it has been? Of course. You can't give Roman Reigns all of the credit for his success and his reign for those past 3 years without throwing in and including the Usos. But this is more than just this is just more than a simple feud. This is a storyline in the WWE, that you don't normally see for a long period of time. Like, this is something that's going to be talked about for, years to come. And this probably sets the stone and the table for, for the remainder, for the next generation. Uh-oh. All right. Microphone issues. I'm going to. No, let me see. I want to change my layout. All right, there we go. We're going to pop things up like that because I want to be able to talk to you guys about this. All right, so, like I said, the number one question is, who dethrones Roman Reigns? And I'm going to go out, out there and just persecute this saying, why not Solo Sikoa? I mean, you see the Usos have gotten a crack at it and they failed. But, every now and then there's a hint. And over the past several weeks between WrestleMania and upcoming SummerSlam, there's been hints and cracks of why is Solo Sikoa always buried? He's this back end guy that does the dirty work for Roman Reigns throughout the last, 6 months. He's always been by his side. He's been sent from the elders to come, but still Roman Reigns is that tribal chief. And, we come down to SummerSlam, and this story, I don't believe, ends. As a matter of fact, I strongly believe that come SummerSlam, Roman Reigns will retain that Universal Championship, unfortunately. But what I do believe you can see happening down the road, that means this story, this bloodline, this tribal chief continues. But, why not? How come we can't think of a guy such as Solo Sikoa being one? Because, first of all, Solo Sikoa has never really... Uh-oh. guess microphone issues looking, right? Or it's maybe headphone issues. I don't know. So my thing is, when it comes down to Solo Sikoa, Roman Reigns has never really had to pair himself up to Solo Sikoa quite yet. He's been capable of just making sure all my microphone stuff is correct and easy going. All right. It's been playing with me about half of this hour here of the program, and we'll see. So Roman Reigns has had a nice leash on Solo Sikoa for the past several months. And Solo Sikoa has been always seemed to go back around to aiding to Roman Reigns. And I think that's fine, but as we've seen the waters get tested lately, there's been, some hints or some emotions poured out, with the Usos, right? The real life brothers of Solo Sikoa has been trying to persuade Solo in saying, hey, Roman Reigns is only about him, that you need that side with us. We're your bloodline brothers coming from the same father, and put your trust into us, and we would let's stand up against the tribal chief. And there's been a few times where Solo Sikoa has, I think, warranted a reason to question motives on both sides of the table. But Roman Reigns has not had to go up against his own family. And, we talked about the possibility of seeing Roman and Dwayne Johnson in The Rock. And I think this would be definitely a dream match that is still not out the window. But as I've said this before, and I'll say this again, Roman and The Rock, if that match is to happen, it doesn't need to be about any titles. As a matter of fact, titles should probably be the furthest away from them if this match is to ever happen, which means someone should drop the line. You also talk about you build a 3-year, a 3-year skit with this title reign on Roman Reigns. And whoever you're dropping it to is going to get a huge push, okay, in the WWE. The one thing that has lacked of Solo Sikoa, and it's because he's been this bodyguard to Roman Reigns and he's been this shepherd to Paul Heyman, or vice versa, however you want to say it, Solo has really been limited on his own success in the WWE. When he was down in NXT, I saw it when I was watching him. He was pretty high built. He was running, he was going on to challenging and dominating NXT. He gets bumped up to the WWE, and he, from there, he's kind of been held back at the change. He hasn't really had any title matches. I mean, he should be in the conversation to go up against Austin Theory. In this case, he could be even built. The potential of Solo Sikoa being built to face Roman Reigns, for that Universal Championship. I can see, when this is said and done, Solo Sikoa having his crack at facing Roman Reigns, a part of this bloodline story. And I think it just lags out. Maybe it's a Survivor Series thing. Maybe it's a Royal Rumble thing. Maybe it's next year's WrestleMania. Whatever the case may be, keep it. I say keep it within the family, and possibly move forward. And because that way you could always turn back around if needed. So I want to throw Solo Sikoa into the conversation. But with that being said, Monday Night Raw is tonight. We are less than 2 weeks away from SummerSlam, which is the hottest event of the summer. It's in Detroit, okay, August 5th, Detroit, Michigan. It's a premium live event. It'll be held on a Saturday. And we are, kind of building a little bit more and more into it. All right. You'll see Cody Rhodes take on Brock Lesnar. You'll see Seth Rollins take on Finn Balor. We're going to see Gunther and Drew McIntyre, which I really love this feud here. So a couple of things we're expected to see that's been advertised for tonight's Raw. First of all is the contract signing between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor for this World Heavyweight Championship match. Now, the one thing we saw that we did not see back in this first title match, and the reason why Finn Balor probably lost, was because of what type of Finn Balor we're seeing. I don't believe that the last time them two faced, it was about, we saw the demon Finn Balor. And I think there's a demon Finn Balor without the makeup. Do we see the makeup? Do we see the actual demon Finn Balor at this year's SummerSlam? But I think it would be cool for him to pull out the demon inside of him once again. And I think it'll give Seth Rollins a good matchup. We talked at the beginning of the program about the possibility of Damian Priest captivating, that World Heavyweight Championship. But overall, this is the contract signing. Now, hey, nothing particular really happens at contract signings. You may see the Judgment Day all at the table. Matter of fact, I probably, configure that this is going to happen early on in the program so that we may see a match down the road, either with Damian Priest and Seth Rollins, or Dominik Mysterio and Seth Rollins once again. We're expected to also see Logan Paul confront Ricochet. I guess I had after the Money in the Bank ladder match, which still maybe shocked me a bit that Logan Paul entered himself in, I was questioning what more can Logan Paul really do, honestly. What more does he need? What more does he need to do? And what more does the WWE universe want him to do? Unfortunately for me, I feel like Logan Paul right now is a distraction. It's not a money content, in my opinion. He's more of a distraction to the progress of the WWE, right? And their storylines. Now, is he having, him and Ricochet, high flying stuff? Okay, great. Kudos. But, Ricochet is finally being utilized out of the blue. And guess what? When this is all said and done, he's going to go right back down to the bottom. He's going to be on main event. He's going to be on these house shows, and he's really not going to be anything particular. I really don't think the WWE has brought Ricochet to the forefront of television, in a feud with Logan Paul to say, all right, we're going to give him a push. This is really just strictly Logan Paul to give him that spotlight, which is unfortunate because Ricochet is a talented athlete. Becky Lynch has to fight Zoe Starks in order to get to Trish Stratus at SummerSlam. So we'll see that match tonight. And then Drew and Gunther will go face to face. And I really like this throwdown. SummerSlam, we saw a triple threat match between Drew, Sheamus, and Gunther for that Intercontinental Championship. And I think we came close to seeing a new title, but Drew's going to get the chance to probably hold this title one last time if he is to exit at the end of his contract next year. I also believe that Gunther is on the verge, and he should be on the verge of going up higher than the Intercontinental Championship. For right now, I feel like between injuries with Giovanni Vinci, you got Ludwig Kaiser, there's just stuff that Imperium is dealing with that a break off of the spotlight may be warranted. So, going face to face, I think Drew and Gunther is going to be a really hard hitting match. And I can't wait to see what the buildup is. So Monday Night Raw is tonight. We'll talk about that tomorrow on our program. We'll also cover the highlights of the Reds and Brewers game 1 of a 3-game series, very important series to talk, to get ahead. And we're just getting rolling. All right. Football season's about to get back under the swing of things. We have that Hall of Fame game followed by preseason week 1, which we're going to start seeing a lot of ideas and where teams are going to stand. And, to me, you are, but yet again, you aren't, because it's just preseason. They're playing a lot of the younger guys, but I like preseason. I love everything about preseason because everyone's fighting for a job. And that's what's so great about, football and baseball, is that people fight for a starting position or to be on the roster. So we'll get a chance to talk about that. So we're just getting warmed up here on a Monday, getting warmed up here for the week. We got a nice, good show for a couple shows for you guys coming throughout this week. Hopefully, come back in, tune us in tonight for tonight's ball game between Baltimore and Philadelphia. We hope that we'll be able to call another ball game later on this week. It's all a day by day circumstance. So, and that's, and we'll inform you guys as that. So head on over to our webpage at the tncsportstalkshow.com. That is www.tncsportstalkshow.com. Thank everyone for tuning in. Hit that like button to have those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode. And until next time, thank you guys for tuning in. Welcome back to the Throw-In on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Take care. Have a great day.